as you guys may know and hear a lot around any sort of controversy, is that people will say any publicity is good publicity. And that's what kind of lies in what I want to talk about today in this episode, is what the true problem is with Lunchables. Nationers, welcome back to another episode of The Realest Podcast, episode 65. You guys know it. The banner is right behind me. I hope you guys are all doing well, doing swell. I thought I would do something a little bit different today. If you guys are watching on video, you guys would see this giant like arm in the way. It's not a human arm, in case you guys are listening on audio. But we have an arm. I had this arm when I was making music. And I bought it kind of a part of a set. So the funny thing is I bought it a part of a set that would have like a nice little foam pad behind it. And the thing was, I didn't know that it came with this. I just like didn't know. What I was intentionally going to use was use the scissor arms, like the boom mics that you normally see like live streamers have. I was going to use mine for that and then just like hold the mic. But then this became what it was. And then so I just configure it how I do with the foam pad on this. But I was like, like I have one at home and I thought it would be kind of cool to use for the podcast. I feel like it makes it like a little bit more formal. I also do like the more casual, like holding the mic. I don't know if this is for everything. This is something that I really want to test out, something that I want to try. But most importantly, Nationers, welcome back into another episode. I hope you guys are all doing well, doing swell. I know it's been about a month since we last made a podcast, and there's been a lot of things that have happened. A lot of major tech events. Usually September, October are like those big tech event type days and months. There's also even like a brand new game, Black Ops 6, coming out. Not that I really have like much to say about some of the new things coming out. I have a bit of stuff that I want to address. One of those things obviously being like the iPhone 16. Just some things that have happened, even like it was hurricane season. I don't even know when proper hurricane season is, or like tornado season is as well. But there was a bunch of hurricanes that happened. Obviously, if you guys live in America, we had Hurricane Helene, which then got superseded by Hurricane Milton, which like absolutely blew up. Like, I think it surpassed most of Florida. And it's just devastating to see. I live in a location, a part of the U.S. where I don't really have to worry about those. Any hurricanes, any natural disaster. I think the closest one that we ever had was like wind. We've just had like a bunch of wind. We have a lot of wildfires up here, but even then I live in a location where like the entire city would have to burn down for like it to get to my house. I understand like any evacuations that like some more rural places definitely have to have, but we do have a lot of wildfires around our place in Spokane, but nothing to like the devastation of like a fire you can like somewhat control. A hurricane or a tornado, you really can't. Like an earthquake, you really can't either. You can like set stuff up just in case, but tornado, hurricane, even like monsoons as well, anything like that is kind of tough to like gauge. You can't really like protect yourself from it like all the time. There's like, excuse me. I'm also a little sick, Nationers. I'm kind of coming off of a cold, so I do apologize if I am coughing. If I feel like I have an itchy throat, it is because I do. But yeah, there's just a lot of hurricane, natural disasters that just kind of went on throughout this past month. It's one of those things that it is kind of hard to kind of like truly understand because I never really witnessed one. Like everything, and especially for any of you guys that like live internationally too, where like these things aren't naturally causing it might, I kind of like feel you guys on that. Like I can understand where you guys come from, where it's just like, I hear these things in the news. There's numbers of like damage. There's numbers of casualties and people passing away from these natural causes or natural disasters. Not so much natural causes. Natural causes, dying from natural causes is like just age. This is just like one of those things that like it happens, and it's kind of it makes me not want to live anywhere near that at all. Like I'm fine up here in Spokane, up here in Washington. Like I'm good. But I do feel for those people who obviously maybe don't have a choice, just were born in that area too. I don't imagine like 13-year-olds living on their own. But it sucks. It's not fun to, hear constantly either. It just kind of, I live in America. We hear about schools. I'm not going to mention it just because you guys probably know, but that sucks too. It's just one of those things that you just constantly hear throughout the news throughout a specific time of year, and that there's not much I can do. Like, like you feel like you want to be able to do something, and hopefully with my platform, I can, at least raise money, bring awareness to like things that you can do, and even give my experience in that. I don't feel like I know how to like handle these situations like for one-to-one. I hear a lot of it through just like news outlets and different things on the internet. One of these things that I even put out a few days ago, this last Monday, I put out a post about Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, which, as you guys may know, for a lot of you guys, actually, it was like Happy Columbus Day, which like I kind of like, first of all, what's going on? Why is there what is happening outside? Today has been like a absolute like day. I don't know what's going on, but like it's a Saturday. I don't know if it's like a full moon. It shouldn't be because we had the supermoon a few days ago. But like I don't know if like all hell's breaking loose. Because today I went and did a few errands, and it's just like people are just peeving, man. They're getting on my nerves, man. I don't know. Like, there was a car the other day that was in the other lane to my right, had clearance to go, like, past me, bolts into my lane right behind me, and, like, we're about to brake, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if that car's going to brake. I really don't know if that car's going to brake. It ended up braking, but then it just, like, we were crossing this bridge, and it just, like, sped up on the bridge, only for us to, like, go to a red light and then not be able to turn. I don't fully understand what's going on these past few days. I don't know if the wolves have been let loose because of the full moon and the supermoon that we had. But regardless, Nationners, I put out a post the other day about Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. In conjunction with that, you guys may know, but a lot of you guys, like I said, may know about Happy Columbus Day, Christopher Columbus Day. Usually the second Monday. Why do I just hear people yelling outside? What is happening? Oh my God. Hold on. Give me one quick second. Oh my God. There are so many people just yelling outside. I don't know what's happening. There is chaos. There is chaos ensuing right now. I literally don't know what is happening right now. There is so much going on outside. There's like car horns going off. I feel like the purge is commencing right now. It is 7:44, but I feel like at the top of the hour, like all hell is going to break loose like the purge. Regardless, Nationers, let's get back on track because there's chaos happening outside my house right now. Regardless, you guys, a lot of you guys may know, I just want to finish the sentence. A lot of you guys may know Christopher Columbus Day, and I was kind of curious because it's like, it's cool, and I know like history, we've celebrated like that being like the founding of like America in a way that was like revolutionary. Like I completely understand like why we would celebrate that. Like it's really cool. Like people from Spain, especially Christopher Columbus, like, oh, boom, like that's cool. It does feel weird because why do we celebrate that? Like in America, why do we? It feels a little weird. I'm not going to lie. And I fully understand like the change. I get that. But what I don't get, and this is kind of weird, is that we have a Spanish explorer find America. He didn't really, like, he found the land for the most part that is North America. But he didn't, like, find the U.S. And, like, I get that. Like, we use America as the United States. I get that. But what I don't get is why we celebrate that. Like, it just seems like an odd holiday, you know? I can understand like most major holidays, but that one in particular, like President's Day, kind of makes sense. Like that is unique to us, you know? I understand like different countries, especially like Canada, has like a different Thanksgiving. Friends Day, like Friends Day is even one of those. Like in the UK, they celebrate Box Day, which I not entirely, I don't remember exactly what it is, but I know that they celebrate Box Day, which is like kind of specific to them. This just kind of seems like a really odd holiday that I don't necessarily I'm not grasping why we celebrate it. I understand why people don't want to celebrate that, but I don't think that those align, right? I'm like confused why it even exists, whereas people are like, we need to change this and boycott it. Now, I put out a post on my Instagram. I'm talking about just like happy Indigenous Peoples Day. And even throughout like my years when it was changing, like it kind of reminded me of one of those things of like saying like happy holidays to versus like Merry Christmas. Or like going from Merry Christmas and then saying happy holidays. It kind of reminded me a little bit like that. Like there are changes along the lines throughout history, throughout the years that we've existed where like, yeah, maybe like I feel a little bit like, hey, I want to be a little bit more all encompassing, or maybe that like might change, you know. I can understand that like people are like, oh, why do we need to change that? What I don't get is that like, I can understand if like change is bad. Like I put out a post, I talked about like one of the major changes that we made in Washington. It was a House Bill 1356, if I remember the number correctly. And what this bill basically was designed to do, and I put this in this post, if you guys want to read it in full length, like the whole story that kind of sparked my interest in this whole thing. I remember a few years ago, in 2021, there was like this whole massive change that you couldn't use any logos, mascots, or team names that resembled any Native American tribe or resembled like, let's say it's like the Chiefs. Couldn't use it. The Totems. Couldn't use it. There was just a whole bunch. Like we had like even Indians. You couldn't just like use it, right? And I understand like the possibility of like being like, oh, that's like racism. And that like that being the face for like getting rid of it. What I don't get, like I get like if, and I'm going to say it, I'm Native. Like I can totally understand if like the Redskins might like people have like a different look on it now. Maybe it wasn't like the best choice back then. And not to say, and not to even mention that like the tribe and the family that, you know, was the person that the Redskins were named after wants it back. Like, not to even mention that. Like, what I don't get is that why most people that don't fully understand, and I'm not saying that I fully understand this or that when it comes to res life, powwows, the traditional Native American life. Mind you, that looks a lot different now than it did way back then. But what I don't really get is why such a drastic change, you know? Like, I understand if maybe the Redskins, you know, kind of like sparked a little bit of like controversy and like why Nike pulled it down. The team ended up changing it, which to me baffles me because it went from the Redskins to the Commanders, which almost went from like the enslaved to the slaver. Don't fully understand that. And so when in this story, and again, I highly recommend you read this story because I feel like it was pretty good. I feel like it kind of encompasses where I kind of wanted to invest a little bit more of my time. What I don't get is why we just had to get rid of them altogether. You know, like any name in America, not in America, Washington that is, that resembled any sort of like Native tribe, mascot, team name was just abolished. And like I use that term like very highly. Like it very much was just abolished if it wasn't like on a res tribe. Not to mention, and I put this in my post, that the reses were already like places and plots of land that the government already set up. So now we're just minimizing everything to that tribe and to the res that, you know, lives there. And it sucks. I don't like to see that. I think, and call it whatever you want, but this one student at North Central High School here in Spokane was one of the main proponents for this change. She had gone to the Congress and gone to like state legislator to make this change. In a 90-8 vote, it was completely like passed. It got passed. What I don't get is that somebody who was Native like her then decided that was it. It brought back trauma. This is her words, not mine. That when you see those types of things, it brings back historical trauma. I could completely understand that. Everyone's going to handle that differently and be like, oh my gosh, like this is my history. But now we've completely got rid of the history. You know? So it feels weird that we made a day to remember, instead of a day to remember the Native and Indigenous people that lived here in America, and then change that to a day to remember and change what that day once was. But in Washington and now in Oregon, I'm sure a few other states, that we've completely done the reversal of that. I don't know if I'm painting this clearly, but hopefully you understand what I mean. That we've gone from, hey, we want to preserve like the indigenous history that is America, to completely going flip side, reversing it, being like, hey, any school, team mascot, and mind you, different motives, different means, different avenues for doing that. But what I don't get is that same problem now lies where it's like, okay, well now we're back in the spot where, hey, like we learned about totems, we learned about totem poles, we learned about the practices that the natives had here in Washington. We learned that like what types of civilizations that they were accustomed to, different types of hunting techniques, right? And now we've completely just gotten rid of like Chief Moses. We've gotten rid of what was North Central's team? I completely forgot it now. It's the Wolves. But they were also some part of that House bill. And it just kind of sucks to see. I put out a post if you guys want to see it on my Instagram. I thought it was a great representation of where my thoughts are with that bill, with how natives, not necessarily how been treated, but there definitely is parts and elements of that, but how they've kind of just defaced the entirety of Indian life. Like, I would have loved to see like some sort of like tribe representative, you know, somewhat being like maybe the school board, maybe the school district, you know, maybe that school to some extent. But we went so extreme that we went from one end to the other. And again, we've seen this in different means and different modes with NFL teams or different, the national holidays that we recognize. And it just sucks to see, you know. I'm not necessarily like the most native where like I've lived life like, you know, natives nowadays do. But yeah, that sucks to see. And I don't necessarily like that we have completely transformed the way that people remember natives in a way. I'm sure like history books will still align with that, but history does repeat itself and it sucks to see. Regardless, that's not the main topic of today. Over the past month, me and my girlfriend, we went to go see a football game, actually. We went to go see the 49ers versus the Seahawks, and funny story, I was originally, I bought this for a birthday gift for my girlfriend, was Childish Gambino tickets, and it was really cool because Willow was opening up for that concert, and I was really, really excited to go. We didn't get like the best of seats, but I did find what like I thought were good tickets, and the thing was is that concert ended up getting postponed, and I held on to the tickets. I was holding on to them as long as I could until like maybe they got rescheduled, because that's normally what you do when things get postponed like that. But the thing was is then it ended up getting canceled, and it sucks because both days that I heard about the news, like I instantly found out through like Google Cards. And it sucked because I know that was a concert that my girlfriend was really looking forward to going to. And it was one of the first songs that she was like, oh, can I play this song for you? And it happened to be a Childish Gambino song. And so it sucked. But luckily I had enough money in the bank, because normally you don't get the refund like right away. Like they still have to file everything, and then they reach out to you and be like, hey, you could get either credit or you can get a full refund. One of the things that ended up happening was I remember like Sunday Night Football, and they're like, hey, Thursday Night Football, the 49ers versus the Seahawks. Okay, cool. And I always remember, and I always tell my family this, oh, what stadium are they playing at? Where are they playing at? It's always whatever the left is at right. So it's 49ers at Seahawks. That's how I always remember it. Whatever team is on the right usually is and always is. Baseball, it's the bottom, is the home team. That's how I always remember it. That's how I always, like, I've done it, like, it's without fail. Blank at blank. Blank at blank. So I ended up, like, looking tickets. I could not sleep. And I was thinking, oh, my gosh. The 49ers versus the Seahawks. She's a big Seahawks fan. She grew up on the west side of Washington. I got to get tickets. I have to find us tickets. I know that she's off that day. So we ended up making the trip. I texted her and I was like, I don't know if she's like awake. What are your plans Thursday? Ended up getting a text back immediately. Okay, hi, I have a plan. Here's the plan, essentially. And basically what ended up happening, I don't know how I want to wear my headphones. Basically what ended up happening is that we went to the game, had a ton of fun. It was really great. I put out a full video on the second channel talking about it. Just kind of like in a short. It was a ton of fun. Decently close game at some points, which was great. Like, you don't really want like a blowout. It was kind of in the first half, but it overall was a really fun experience as a fan. There was even like a few people to the left of us or to the right of us that were like, hey, like, here's your like memento. There's like these cameras above, and they take moments that are like big plays, like, I don't know, like just big game-changing plays. And what they do is they'll take a photo, like a few photos every few seconds when those plays happen. And they'll upload them as fast as they can. And you could see your My Memento. So when a big touchdown, a big kick return, punt return, big play happens, you could see like what you were doing in that moment, which I thought was really cool because they showed us, they're like, oh, you guys look so cute. We end up looking them up like a week later, and the photos are just so fun. It was just super awesome. We ended up just having like a blast, and we drove there that day, spent way too much on parking, went to the event, and then we drove back that day because she had work in the morning the next day. So we knew that we couldn't really stay the night. So yeah, we woke up pretty tired. I mean, she woke up definitely very tired, but I drove there, drove back, and I just wanted her to enjoy that day. I really just wanted her to enjoy her birthday gift because that ended up becoming her birthday gift because the Childish Gambino concert obviously got canceled. So it sucked to see, but overall a really, really fun like experience. It was my first football game, and it was her first football game, and I'm glad that it happened to be like a Seahawk game. I know a few years ago the Raiders, which my team, actually played the Seahawks, but we were on vacation that time. But it was a really good game, but we just happened to be on vacation that time. So yeah, I mean, obviously I didn't know her at that time either, so not like it would have necessarily mattered. But that was in 22, if I'm not wrong. So that would be 2 more years until they play again. So maybe we might go. Regardless, Nationers, there have been some stuff circulating, especially over this past month, about a brand new product. Now, this product you guys may know already. You guys have probably seen either the memes, because I like my cheese drippy, bruh. I really do. I do like a good cheese. I do like a good snack pack. Now, what I'm talking about is Lunchly. Lunchly is a brand and a company and a product that 3 YouTubers, as you guys may know, MrBeast, Logan Paul, and KSI, have co-launched as kind of a competitor to Lunchables. Now, in these very seats, I've actually tried both products. My girlfriend blind reviewed them. I gave, obviously, my thoughts and reviews to what seemed like a good enough extent for a short. Obviously, anyone that has watched that video, and most of the comments that I've read are like, well, she's definitely telling the truth, and he is paid. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, and I know most people don't know, if you are ever paid to, talk about a product, which it really sucks when, like, I see this on Instagram most of the times, and maybe there's like a loophole that most people could get around. I don't know any loophole that people can get around where they can promote things and then not say that they got paid. I've never gotten paid from Lunchly, Prime, Feastables, anything. I have Feastables here because I want to talk about it. I'm usually pretty critical when it comes to being pretty critical. If you guys watch any of the live streams, you guys would know like most of my honest thoughts about things. And I feel like a pretty sensible guy. Like I'm not like, oh my God, like this is really good. If it's really good, you'll know it's really good. If it's not good, you'll know it's not good. But they launched this product called Lunchly. It's basically a competitor to Lunchables. Now, they have 3 separate meals, the pizza, nacho, and your classic like cheese sandwich type meal, which has like crackers, cheese, and meat. They launched this product, and the day of the launch was pretty, how would I call it? Pretty rough, I would say. Now, as you guys may know and hear a lot around any sort of controversy is that people will say any publicity is good publicity. And that's what kind of lies in what I want to talk about today in this episode is what the true problem is with Lunchly. I want to try and find out what the true problem is with Lunchly. And I think it kind of lies in most of the details and the marketing. Which, if you ask me, went really rough and maybe is on a rebound. Maybe? So when I talk about publicity, I'm talking kind of in this case, some drama, some controversy. Lunchly started off with a live stream, which apparently I didn't watch, but apparently wasn't that great. I remember when Prime came out and JJ, KSI, and Logan both like went live in the same room and they talked about like Prime and they're like, hey, we launched this hydration drink, which like, it kind of peeves me when like I see people talk about Prime as an energy drink when it's Prime Hydration and Prime Energy. When they are 2 different products, and like, mind you, you could call me a little soy boy, you could call me a little, like that meat ride is definitely, it was a good meat ride if you ask me. But when you know the difference, it's like kind of like you could tell who definitely does their research and definitely who doesn't. But like, it's like if I talked about like sneakers and like Crocs, you know, or like sneakers and flip-flops, you know, like, oh yeah, Croc sneakers. Like they don't make like, maybe they make sneakers, but they also have like Croc shoes. They have flip-flop, whatever that may be. Like if they solely like put them in like Croc sneakers, it's like, Crocs, you know, if that makes sense, right? So basically they launched this live stream and they have all 3 of the guys like hop on a live stream and they, you know, they talk about Lunchly. It's basically this competitor towards Lunchables, and it's what they would claim is like a healthier version than the product that they are competing with. Now, one YouTuber was pretty quick to call them out, I would say. Dan TDM, as you guys may know, is a very notorious and I think notorious is a good word to describe Dan TDM, a very OG kind of YouTuber. He made a lot of Minecraft. A lot of people grew up on Dan TDM. I wouldn't say that their audience necessarily like 100% like align. But there definitely are a lot of people who maybe grew up, especially around my age, maybe even a little younger, maybe even a little bit older too, that grew up on Dan TDM. Now, I can't say that I've watched like Dan TDM like religiously. I knew about Dan TDM, and like to every project or anything that he's ever done, I couldn't like tell you like every little detail, right? But Dan TDM is a well-respected YouTuber, and he was very vocal. He put out a tweet that said, "What happened to YouTubers, man? I can't not say anything anymore. This is selling stuff for the sake of money. Simple. How does this benefit their fans? This is selling crap to kids who don't know better than to trust the people who are selling it to them. Do better." Now, those were his words. That was in a quote tweet to Lunchly, which personally, if you ask me, I hate the name Lunchly. I wish it were like Lunchy. Like, I know that maybe sounds like a little harsh, and maybe they thought about this too, who knows? But I don't like that it is like Lunchly. Like, it's not a word, you know? Like, Lunchy kind of makes sense. Like, get rid of the L at the end. Lunchy. Lunchables, Lunchy. And maybe, this is just me, I'm sure it was like the ly ending because like in most words like able, like having that suffix kind of a part of that, like likely, likable, kind of like that. That's kind of like my thought behind it. It's just a kind of like interchanging able with lee. It doesn't work. I don't really like it. I would have liked lunchy. I think the problem with it is that if people misspell it, it's going to be like munchy. And I don't know. It's like a whole thing. Regardless, that was a quote tweet that Dan had put out. It caught wind really quick. I think a lot of people with that sentiment like really grasped onto it. Like we're like, hey, like, I don't really get this. I don't really understand this. Why are they making this product? Why especially are these three making that product? Now, I have those same questions. I don't think that these three are necessarily like the founding fathers to like better alternative foods for like, I guess, than Lunchables, right? I get maybe if there's like a market, go for it. Like it doesn't make sense that like Pokimane made like Maya cookies. Like that's not necessarily like, she's definitely a spokesperson for that, for sure. But there's obviously different products like it. And this is something that I want to get into, but let's keep it steadfast here because I think this will make sense and maybe a little bit of my gripes, maybe a little bit of counter to Dan's part because I think, again, his sentiment is great. I think that maybe at times, like I don't necessarily like to do better. I hate when people say do better. It's just like, it really, I don't know, that like really irks me for some reason. Like, don't just say do better. Like, tell me how I can do better, you know? And so, like, with this marketing campaign, the three-headed giants within the three people that are co-founding and co-launching this product, you know, were pretty vocal. I think Logan does a lot of great manipulative marketing, being like, hey, if it has lead and mercury in our product, here's it's going through a metal detector, right? Metal detectors can't, like, they don't do small increments of lead. Like it's not like slivers of lead in, I don't know, like the meat or cheese or whatever drink it's in. It's not how that works. They find big objects that are metal. They see the density, you know, if you've seen like behind a little operator and you're like, huh, wow, okay, that's my bag. Uh-oh, that's a lot of, you know, things like that. But Logan had to say this. I'll tell you what happened to YouTubers. We spent our lives creating content and building our brands. Now we want to build businesses. You don't say anything about Lunchable facing bans for allegedly containing lead, in all caps, but when we create a better version, you're upset, then no need it. Now, I completely understand if somebody doesn't like it, you know, then don't buy it. Now, for myself, I bought it and I've eaten both of them. If I didn't agree with the product's messaging, their marketing even, it's why I don't watch many YouTubers. You know, I don't really like that maybe they use clickbaity things or they do just different things that I necessarily wouldn't like. I like very down-to-earth people. Like, I like a Danny Gonzalez that, like, I feel like they're putting in work. Like, there's a reason I don't watch, like, Brett Rivera or, like, the Stokes twins. I understand maybe if they're, like, really gauged to, like, kids, but I've watched Brett Rivera videos before. I personally really like some of the videos, but I don't like some of the other stuff. There's a reason why I don't mention certain YouTubers who not crap, well, also maybe that too, but crash their McLaren. I don't like really putting them on any sort of pedestal than they deserve to be on, right? So that was Logan's response. MrBeast's response, and we'll get to JJ's here in a bit because I think his is a little different with how he goes about it, right? So Logan kind of just simply compares it with like the lead or, hey, this is what we want to do. I think he's right in some ways that they want to build businesses. They want to build a brand. They want to build products to push out. And like Ryan Trahan, I've, you know, reviewed his Joyride candy. He's partnered with Joyride, the candy makers, and also made his new flavors and has helped launch that business and catapulted that product into what it is. Now, MrBeast's response was, Lunchables sells hundreds of millions of units and countless people eat it. Our goal is to give people a better for you alternative to it. Now, okay. Our turkey meal, for example, is 80 less calories, 60% less sugar, more electrolytes. We use real cheese. They use cheese products. They can't call it cheese. Higher quality meat, etc. Obviously, eating fresh chicken and broccoli is healthier, but if somebody's going to eat a pre-made meal like this, which millions of people do through Lunchables, which is already proven, right, then I think it's giving them a higher quality version at roughly the same price. It's a net good, in my opinion, and we launched Lunchly. And that's why we launched Lunchly. Also, we get economics on scale and get things cheaper, which we will be only improving the product more and more. Now, a lot of people point as like the price being like, oh my gosh, like why is it 50 cents more? Why is it $1.10 more? Now, a lot of people will kind of skew to like, oh, here's like the Walmart, here's the Kroger's. Like many different places sell it for a lot different. Like I can get the same product for like $1.50 to $2 cheaper at Winco than I can at like Fred Meyer's. Usually the marketer that you're going to like sell it at can vary in price because they also have to make a margin as well. Not necessarily like every price that they're going to be slapping on it is like the brand maker's price, right? They sell it at a price. The profit also has to be added on to in different ways, right? So those are those two responses, Logan's and MrBeast, Jimmy's. I just feel like I want to use her first name. I hate using like aliases sometimes. So Jimmy and Logan, they both have their responses. JJ's, I would say, is a lot different. His kind of comes at Dan TDM. His doesn't really involve like, hey, this is the product that we made. Here's our belief. I completely understand that marketing. Like I said, I feel like Logan's does kind of become a little manipulative, like kind of like narrative building. I completely understand that. I think there's a lot of people that have came at Prime that maybe have false narratives or maybe have a little bit more vendetta towards Prime, right? Now, there's a few products that I'll mention here in a bit, but before that, I do want to get to JJ, KSI's response, because his strictly comes at Dan. His is kind of like an ad hominem at his character, not necessarily entirely at like what Dan had to say. Like, hey, why are you doing this? Like, I'm sick and tired of seeing these people build these brands and products and selling it to kids. Now, oh, hold on. Oh, my mom. Hello, mother. Hello, hello. I'm filming a podcast. Are you home? Oh, okay. Sorry. I knew you guys weren't home. Sorry. I'm filming a podcast right now. I see that. I'm filming a podcast right now. Can I call you back later? Okay. Thank you, Mom. Love you. Bye. Sorry. My mother FaceTime me. She's over on the west side with my dad for my sister's like parent weekend. So that's why they're over there. But nonetheless, I feel like JJ's was an ad hominem to Dan's. Why are they building these products? And then basically just calling out him almost for doing the exact same thing. Now, over the years, people could change. People have different beliefs. Like what they did back then doesn't mean that they're great now. I think Boogie was a very well-respected creator back then. Do I think that he is now? Absolutely not. Do I feel like people can redeem and make good of themselves and make a difference in their life, maybe from learning? I think Jelly Roll's a great example. He went to jail for certain things, which I don't even know, but I heard his story on Impulsive, actually, that he was like, hey, he found out that he was going to have a daughter and wanted to change his life. And the prison guards didn't really believe him. They're like, yeah, that's great. You want to go to the library and read a book? You don't seem like the guy that we've known for the past, I don't know, years, months, whatever. But people can still make better of themselves, you know? Like if somebody that crashed in McLaren and feels like, you know, they want to make a difference in their lives, great. Now, there are some people that are going to tear you down for whatever you do. How successful you get doesn't matter. People are always going to try and find a way to bring you back down to their level. It's the same thing why people bully. It's the same thing why people hate, right? So JJ comes in, talks about how Dan has done the same thing. Sold U2, sold different products at variety of vendors, Target, like supermarket, like actual like stores, and tried to sell his product, right? Like I've seen Dude Perfect like partner with Nerf and they sell their own thing. They sell their own games, right? So what makes Dan's argument any different than maybe somebody that agrees, but any different towards them than it is towards other people and other creators, right? Like I've seen Dude Perfect like make things very much for kids, but I don't see Dan exactly going at them. Now, do I think that Dan's quote tweet is directly towards Lunchly? Yes and no. Yes, it is directly quote tweeted towards Lunchly, but his argument does span a broader narrative. Why are YouTubers, especially that don't really feel fit to run these businesses and create these products, making these products, especially in the food and drink industry? Now, I completely get that gripe. I can completely understand why somebody who doesn't necessarily like understand food and drink, especially to the health and detriment, like if somebody's selling like a Nerf gun, like Dude Perfect has, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not really like harming them physically or anything. But maybe if there's like a past and maybe if those narratives are true, there's been a lot of reach out from various organizations, propositions in California about lead and mercury findings in Prime. That's in California. I haven't seen that anywhere else as I know of. But JJ again kind of pokes at Dan and is like, hey, so you've done the exact same thing. Maybe if it was 9 years ago, but hey, just wanted to point that out. Now, I understand, especially if you're making content for, even 5+ years, multiple years, like it's hard to remember exactly like every collab you've done, everything you've said. Like I've had 65 episodes of this podcast. I'm not going to exactly remember what I've said. Like I've seen people being like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe I said that, Those things, are past versions of themselves in a way, right? People can change. People can have different beliefs over time. But I think what's different is KSI comes at Dan. That means that Dan's fans, the people that stand up for Dan, just like people are going to stand up for Prime, are going to go at each other, right? That's just like the natural cycle of what social media has evolved into. And it's unfortunate to see that, I've seen different things happen where like JJ wants to invite Dan onto the sidecast and whatnot, which is the Sidemen's exclusive, bonus content. But people will come at, I've seen Asmongold's reaction to Lunchly versus Lunchables. I've seen a lot of different people, maybe not names that I like recognize, but people have tried it and given their honest review of the product. Now, whether if they're paid or not, that is their own being, right? The only products that I've ever been paid for, whether given a product or paid money in compensation for talking about the product. Unagi scooters, which is a box over here, and I have the scooter right there, which the scooter does not work anymore. I don't know what's up with the battery. It does not work. It hasn't worked for the past 2 years, which really frustrates me because I want to use it. It's like a good scooter. I got it free. It's like $900. And it doesn't work anymore. Anywho, and Current. Those are the two products that I've been like paid for, reached out from the brand. Now, I've earned money because of Rhino Shield. And also Current, but those are not necessarily like they're paying me to talk about it. I've received products for Rhino Shield, but then I've earned money in compensation. So those are the 3 products that I've actually earned money for: Current, Unagi, and Rhino Shield. I have never earned any money or received any money, any product from Lunchly, Prime, Feastables, Ryan Trahan's Joyride, any food that I've tried on the channel. I simply do it because I feel like it's a hot topic. I want to give my honest review because of that. Now, I've tried Lunchly, as I mentioned 3 times before on this podcast, in this specific episode. But one thing that I've definitely noticed within the difference, I've tried the nacho meal and the pizza meal. I've never tried Lunchables pizza meal. Never tried it like throughout growing up. It didn't really look appetizing to me. Like having like sauce that's like cold. It's like cold pizza. Now, in the video that I made of trying them, is that you're supposed to heat up the pizza. Didn't know that. Now, I didn't look at the box and be like, oh yeah, I gotta heat it up for like 30 minutes. Never like crossed my mind. Now, with the nachos, kind of makes sense. You don't really have to heat it up. Salsa's good cold. Cheese is good hot, cold, whatever it may be. So let's talk about the pizza meal. One visual notice that I had seen is the meat. The meat that I see in Lunchables kind of looks like the Pepperidge, I think it's Pepperidge pizza pepperoni that you get like the packages, like those clear bags that look like a bag and they have like a red top and you kind of peel it open like a Ziploc. The pizza or pepperoni looks exactly like that. Now, looks very processed. I would say it looks like very gray. It looks like if you ever seen bacon get old and go bad, kind of looked like that. Kind of just looks like it's like oh, especially if you see like something better, you're like, oh, okay. So pepperoni aside, Lunchly wins. I think it looks better. Might be a little bit more oily, I would say. Like I remember like feeling it. It felt like a little residue, whereas like the other one just felt dry. So that's that. The cheese, kind of the exact same. I would maybe give a slight inclination to Lunchly, just because like when I touched it, it felt like a little, I don't know, like better to hold. And that's just like visibly like, texture-wise, like the texture felt better. So with that, pepperoni cheese, the dough on the Lunchables felt very like not old. It just felt very like slabby in a way. Like it felt like almost like as if it, not like it dried out, but it just felt very slabby. Like I remember like holding it, putting it down, it just went. Whereas Lunchly, I wouldn't say the dough was like any specific. I would say that they're very similar in taste, but I just remember that being a little bit more slabby. So I'm giving like two votes of like visible texture difference. Taste wise, the sauce comparison, I wouldn't say is anything notable. Okay. The pepperoni, very much so. The cheese, texture wise, of course, like I mentioned. The dough definitely feels softer on the Lunchy side than it is the Lunchable side, but that's about it. So pizza aside, that's my honest, like visible taste difference. The sauce, pepperoni combo, like it just, that's kind of that. The sauce like tastes the same. It's cold marinara sauce. Packaging, whatever that may be. Okay. Like if you want to try it for yourself and like feel, that's one thing that kind of like I get really like upset about is that people hate on things that they never tried. Like I don't necessarily like Taylor Swift music. I remember listening to whatever album has Lavender Haze on it. And that was like the only song that I could listen to on it. Like the only song. And like I get if you like Taylor Swift, I completely understand. Like some music just resonates with people differently, but that music's just not for me. I won't necessarily knock it until I try it, right? And that's something that I've kind of like learned over the past few years, especially like with guacamole and avocado. Like I can't really knock it until I try it. I won't knock pickles until I try pickles. I don't like pickles, okay? I don't like them and I don't want to try them. So I hope that if you ever, dislike something or hate something, I hope that maybe you can learn that other side, whether that's politics, especially with the election coming up, or just see like the other side, So pizza aside, that's that. Now with the nachos, very visible difference. Good to note right away, the nacho chips look exactly the same. There's no difference, texture, eating. Like I remember trying a individual one and it didn't taste any different. It just tastes like normal tortilla, tiny chips. They're nearly the exact same. I don't know if there's any like difference, like the salt content, right? But the salsa texture was very different from Lunchables to Lunchly. Lunchables, I would say is maybe slightly worse texture-wise. I just remember it didn't like come out smoothly. It just came very clumpy, I would say. Some salsas even chunky like that too. But I wouldn't say like maybe for like a lunch, not that great. That's just my opinion. The cheese, the drippy cheese, of course, has been memed to hell. The cheese, I would say, visibly looks way different. Like Lunchables looks like nacho cheese, which like, again, if you ever have nacho cheese from like any concession stand, it just like it's just like so processed, not like really like real cheese. Like I remember when I worked in the concessions for a volleyball game or basketball game, like the cheese that we put just like, oh my God. I remember we put the bags in and I was like, that is so yellow. And it didn't really feel like real, of course. Like anyone that knows like any melted cheese kind of knows maybe kind of what that feels like. Like, or if any of you guys have ever had like chips and queso from any like restaurant too, like you'll see a notable difference between that and like yellow artificial cheese, right? Now, I will say Lunchly gets a pass for their cheese. Like their cheese felt really good. It tasted good. Now, again, there's other ways that things can taste good. I rated the nachos very similar. I rated them both an 8, but for very different reasons. I think that visibly it's good and it tastes good for Lunchly. But Lunchables, even if it does taste like a little artificial and not so like real cheese or even salsa for that matter, it's still good, right? It's still like good. Like I would eat it maybe once a month if I had the choice. If I had Lunchables in there, like that's fine. I'm not going to be like, I don't want to eat it, right? I would have both just the same. Haven't tried the cracker one. I looked today when I went out shopping for dinner tonight for me and my girlfriend to see if they had any of the cracker ones. They were all sold out. They usually restock Tuesdays and Fridays at the Fred Meyer's I go to. I even looked at some of the prices at some of the other competitors because obviously people have kind of pointed out the price like, oh my God, that's so expensive. You get like this and that. Like you get a Feastables bar and like a Prime bar. Let me go back because there's obviously some other brands that make these little like charcuterie board or little types of like meals. Now, Private Selection, that's more of a snack board. P3. Now, P3 for what it is $2.50. It's $2.49. I'm just going to round up. $2.50 for cheese, nuts, and meat. Now, that's not really like a full meal. That's like a snack pack. Understand that. You also have the Hillshire snacking, which was the first thing that I remembered because I know that they have those two brioche selections, the meat and the cheese. Really good meal. Like I love their meals. Really expensive though. I've seen some upwards like for like $39 at some places, especially in California. Greenfield has an uncured meat and cheese lunch kit, which is ham, Colby Jack cheese, chocolate flavored bears, and crackers. So you do get a little bit of a snack with it, almost kind of like some Lunchables do. And that is $3.49. Now, I'm not going to really care too much about the ounces because like those don't come with a drink. But then Greenfield again has one with chocolate chip button cookies and then also one with mini oatmeal cookies with different types of cheese and whatnot. So those are both $3.50 at Fred Meyer's. Like I said, the Hillshire. Lunchables also have a Dunkables, right? They have marinara and breadcrumbs and then also, mozzarella sticks, which I didn't even know, which is $2.40. Lunchables. So this Lunchables with the ham cheddar cracker combo with the vanilla cookies, which are gas, and the Capri Sun, not for sale. Not for sale. So if you don't use a number, it's $2.50 if you buy it on sale. Now, mind you, you could just buy one, use your card, and you still get it for $2.50. I promise you, it's how that works. They try and say $2.50, so you get two of them instead of one, and you pay more than what it is just for one without a card. Without the card is $3.79. Now, Lunchly is $3.99. It's $4, which is kind of a lot if you ask me. But again, you do get a drink. You do get, different things with these meals. They're both very expensive. And those are the ones with the drink and the snack. Now, Simple Truth is $2.99 with the same thing as the other one where they have crackers, cheese, and meat, but also have like Teddy Grahams as well. Those are $2.99. Personally, I'd probably grab the Simply Truth. If I'm being fully honest, I would grab the Simply Truth organic that they have at Fred Meyer's. Then I would probably Lunchly and Lunchables. It has 12 grams of protein. It's probably overall maybe a slightly better, healthier version. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I probably would for the protein contents in it if I needed like a snack. Going to be fully honest about that. So those are some of the ones that I found around the place. Like some are like 50 cents cheaper, some like even 50 cents cheaper, but don't come with a treat or even a drink. So maybe the drink costs 50 cents, whatever that may be. I can understand the price point. The calorie, electrolyte, maybe the calories, if the calories are a problem, if they're less, then great. I completely commend that. I don't know if it's like a great marketing tactic though. And the truth behind the problem is that I think the angle that KSI, Logan, and Jimmy are all going after, especially with this better for you product, isn't necessarily true. Now, I have Feastables here because I want to talk about one thing that Jimmy's done with Feastables that maybe I've seen a few people point out. So one of these things that Jimmy had kind of talked about was that it's like 5 ingredients. It's going to be like really low amounts of like things that most other chocolate brands would compare to. So I don't exactly remember what the numbers were from back then, but I do have like an old classic MrBeast bar. This is the Quinoa Crunch Chocolate, and it's supposed to have only 5 ingredients. Now it is 2.1 ounces, 60 grams. This is also 2.1 ounces and 60 grams. So these bars look drastically different, but yeah, they went from like a purplish blue to like a really bright blue with a sunburst behind it. And they added the MrBeast logo, which is more blue and have the same exact, pretty much the same exact font, other than they added Feastables onto it. Or made the Feastables a little bit more bold, whereas the Feastables is really tiny right here up the top. And I just spilled all of that quinoa crunch. So I remember Jimmy talking about like a better for you, healthier version than like a Hershey's bar would. Obviously, that's like the biggest competitor to them. But there are a bunch of other, I think I also took some photos that day of some other competitors to like just chocolate bars. You have the Lindor chocolate bar. You have Cadbury chocolate bar. You have the Ghirardelli chocolate bar, which all are super different. Cabby Lane. Also, I went to Walmart. Cabby Lane also has his own products. He has a bowl hugger, a garlic crusher, a garlic peeler, a taco holder. Do you see where maybe some of the cracks start to fall? Whereas like these creators do want to build businesses and they want to maybe fill a gap in the market. Whether for better or for worse, whether you agree or not, they're probably still going to do it no matter what. They're not going to listen to what Dan TDM and the critics want to say. Sure, if they're doing it for money, that's fine. But if maybe these things are kind of good, is that so much of an issue, right? I can see that there's a middle ground, right? So again, you also have Gatsby chocolate. You have Tony's chocolate, which is hella expensive. You have Sprinkles milk chocolate and whatnot. You have Better Goods, which is a plant-based chocolate. And then obviously, like I said, we're comparing that to like Hershey's and Feastables here, right? So I don't know all of the details on other ones, but I will say that some people have talked about how MrBeast has gone from the old Feastables bar and changed it to this bar and like sneakily changed the recipe. Okay. And again, like when people are referring to like a better for you option and then like reverting to like what the other competitor standard is, then we have a problem. So I'm just going to like simply compare these two because I have the old one comparatively to the new one, right? So the one thing that maybe seems a little bit scammy is that the servings per container is 2 because the serving size is a half bar. So I'm only going to relate things because both of them do say a half bar, and I'm only going to relate things to what they are. 30 grams, a half bar, okay? So total fat, both 11. Saturated fat, 7 for the old, 5 for the new, okay? So that's like slightly better. Cool. We also have cholesterol. Now, this is not that much because cholesterol can kind of be really high. Cholesterol goes from 0 milligrams to 5 milligrams. That's an increase of 2% of your daily value. It's just the numbers here. Sodium goes from 0 to 100 grams of sodium. Now, sodium is not necessarily bad, but people should not consider sodium an electrolyte unless you're actually working out. Sodium's really good. Sodium is basically salt in a way, right? Sodium's saltiness. People do not necessarily need salt, aka sodium, if they're not working out a lot. If you're like in a humid environment, you're burning a lot of sweat, you're going to be very dehydrated. Salt is decently good for you. Sugar is also very good for you. If you, maybe not very, I'll use that very loosely, but very good for glucose carrying if you are working out. Sugar is not necessarily good if you're not working out, just like not doing anything that is physically exerting a lot of glucose, and especially, like I said, those salts and potassium. A lot of people, especially with the prime, are like, well, you get a lot of potassium and other things, and then so we packed it with sodium. Sodium is just basically salt. Salts are good when you are working out. That's why it is in a hydration drink. You should not be drinking prime hydration if you are not working out. Like, I get if you want to drink like Gatorade, but you probably shouldn't drink it if you're not working out. Drink some water, drink maybe just like flavored water. Who cares, right? But you probably should not be comparing like the sodium content in Prime and in Gatorade and in other hydration drinks if you are not working out. Hydration is good for when you need it, right? So, goes from 0 to 100. Vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium all remain the same. Other than calcium, so vitamin D is the same. Calcium goes from 0 to 4%. Iron goes from 4% to 6%, maybe slightly better. Always good to get a little bit of iron and calcium. And then potassium goes from 2 to 2. So those remain the same. The one thing that a lot of people maybe, and this is something that I realized because I remember like Feastables being like 0 sugar or like very low amounts of sugar. But I remember these are actually best by November 5th, 2023. So in the half serving, there is 13 total grams of added sugar in both of these. Total. The added amount of sugar in the old bar is 13 grams. So it's only added sugar. The Feastables bar, the new one, goes from 10 added sugar. So there's 3 apparently natural sugars a part of this. The total carbs actually goes from 17 to 15. Dietary fiber goes from 2 grams to 1 gram. And the one thing that a lot of people have pointed out is primarily their ingredients, right? Is that like any different? Is there hints of like maybe just like adding a bunch of sweeteners, right? And so we have milk chocolate. Okay, hold on. Let me, because if you guys don't know, ingredients goes from most abundant to least abundant. So let's do the old bar here. We have cane sugar, which makes sense, organic chocolate liquor, organic cocoa butter, crispy quinoa, and sunflower lecithin. Now that is obviously for the quinoa bar. This is like a quinoa crunch, kind of like a rice crunch in a way. So that's kind of what's in the old one. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ingredients like they mentioned. Did it change from 5? And is it necessarily worse or better? This is the peanut version, by the way. So they go from cane sugar to milk chocolate. That's sugar, whole milk powder, cocoa butter, unsweetened chocolate, lecithin, which is soy. That's ingredient 1. Oh, excuse me. That's ingredient, no. Where's the... Huh? Oh, this is so confusing. Okay. Sorry, I was trying to find out where the end bracket was. So there's milk chocolate, unsweetened, milk chocolate, peanut butter. But there's like so many various ingredients in there that makes it very confusing. So I don't know if I can say like exactly what the ingredients are, but I'll just read the ingredients for what it is. Milk chocolate, in brackets, sugar, milk chocolate powder, cocoa butter, unsweetened chocolate, lecithin, which is soy, natural vanilla extract, okay? End bracket. Peanut butter, open bracket, peanuts, sugar, palm oil, and salt. End bracket, end of ingredients. That's about it, and then just the containing and whatnot. Now, I'm not going to lie. I really F with the peanut butter, okay? I really F with the peanut butter Feastables. That is gas, okay? Okay? The one thing that I have really disliked about M&M's peanut butter is that it makes my stomach really upset. I like M&M's. I love M&M's. I like M&M's peanut butter. It's my favorite. Pretzel right behind it. Peanuts, whatever. There's a whole bunch of different ones out there. The peanut butter M&M's, my favorite. I don't really like it anymore because there is a lot of sugar in it. It makes me feel really bad. Sugar, I have realized, makes my body just like tank. Like I cannot handle any added sugar. Like I love lemonade. I drank a Calypso lemonade. It's like 56 grams of added sugar. Not great. It's like a 103% of what like a 2,000 calorie diet should be. Absolutely nuts. I felt so bad like drinking it, but it felt very good drinking it. And that's why you see things like that have 0 sugar taste really bad. Plant-based things usually, protein-based things usually. Things that usually have 0 sugar or very minimal amounts don't taste really good. Sugar makes things taste really good. So I bring all of this up primarily because there are other products that people have made. And especially with Dan's argument, why do people continue to make these better for you or things that are also just already out there? Actresses and actors create a lot of alcohol drinks. I know Dwayne The Rock Johnson has an energy drink out there as well as an alcohol drink. A lot of alcohols, even like Snoop Dogg's wine. You have a lot of alcohol out there from celebrities. You have Messi, who also made a hydration drink, which is very similar to Prime Hydration. And I remember listening to the Boys podcast that they had with the Lunchly drop. They had MrBeast, JJ, and Logan. And they were talking about like Ronaldo's YouTube channel. They're like, what about if Messi? Oh, they don't like Messi. I wonder why they don't like Messi. Because Messi also dropped a drink, a hydration drink, that is very similar. Packaging, bottle style, where the placements of like all the logos are to Prime. I have drinks. I drank the Miami Punch. It also has very similar ingredients, but hey, they made the exact same thing. So where is the backlash for Messi if Prime is, if that is also just a reciprocal carbon copy of Prime? It necessarily doesn't make any sense. And so, yes, I agree that maybe like I could be sick and tired of like all these new products coming out. Are these like the right people to be doing this? But the one argument that I don't necessarily like is that people come after these YouTubers or creators that make these products, but won't go after those people that are doing it worse than them. Not from like a metric standpoint, but if the product is better for you, then great, go for it. But if it's somewhat of competitive and it maybe is slightly better, then why go after them? Why not go after Hershey's and Mars bars and all of these companies, Coca-Cola, Pepsi products, like Gatorade's under Coca-Cola. There's a bunch of different stuff like under Pepsi. Why not go after them? And this is my theory, is that the problem with Lunchly is that there is a face to go after. Now, I'm not saying the marketing behind it is great and has been great. I don't think KSI helped with that at all. The new song obviously only memes it to hell. But in my theory is that there are people to go after. There are creators behind, not even behind, they're just right in your face when it comes to promoting this product. And when you see these characters like the M&M's people, it's just fun. It's for laughs. But what about the Disney Channel if these products like Lunchly and Feastables and Prime are catered towards kids? Then what about Go-Gurt and Yogurt and Danibles and fruit roll-ups? Like those are like very much catered to kids. Like there's commercials that they're spending thousands and maybe millions of dollars on like Disney and Nickelodeon, but they're far worse for you than like maybe the product that is in front of you. Well, I like cereals. Like how many cereals are out there that are just like maybe like sugar? I'd rather eat. I remember like somebody, and you guys have probably seen it, like, oh my God, it probably is better to eat like pizza than it is like sugary cereal in the morning. You get a little bit of protein off the pizza. I would argue that that's probably a pretty good argument, and I would probably do the exact same. So that's one thing. The products that these creators are making, and that's like the problem that I see with Lunchly and a lot of these other products, is that there are people to go after. Pokemane's, Maya cookies, right? If things are not going well behind the scenes, then who are they going to blame? The person. I can completely understand that. But the difference in before I forget, like the Travis Scott meal at McDonald's versus like it's not the Kai Cenat meal, but he's definitely a part of that marketing meal at McDonald's. People can gripe to Travis Scott all they want. They've never met them. They've never talked to him. Whereas like Kai Cenat live streams and you see the person, you can actually kind of maybe hope that they read your message. Whereas you leave a comment on a Travis Scott post being like, oh my God, your meal freaking sucks. Like he's probably not going to read it, And so that to me, and especially with like other products that even the Sidemen have created. I'm wearing their clothing right now. They have clothing. They have XIX vodka, which is definitely not for children. They have Best cereal, which is like a cereal that is better for you. So what's up with Dan's argument, right? Two things can be right at once. I can disagree with Dan's sentiment, but I could also disagree with how KSI went about attacking that argument, right? Just because I say your clothes are trash doesn't mean that you should also say that I'm an awful, horrible person. You could be like, hey, I think your clothes are trash and you don't really look good in them, but maybe a better response is to not respond at all, like Dan has now since not responded, or even been like, hey, I understand. I like these clothes. I think that this is clothes that I would really like wearing. I'm sorry that you don't like it, but I shouldn't be sorry at all. And not to say that every person's going to have that response, but when somebody like JJ and KSI, aka the same person, and even Logan and maybe Jimmy at some points have, especially JJ, have gone on and been like, why don't people like my song? Why are people just hating the hating? Well, maybe it's a little bit of karma. Maybe a little bit of stuff being thrown back in your face. When people are being reacted from, or when you're reacting to people's content, but then mad when people react to your content, it doesn't really add up. And so I think the truth lies behind, both people can be wrong. I completely disagree with Dan's sentiment of why are people building these businesses? Why can't people just be YouTubers? Well, we were just once YouTubers, and now we want to maybe build businesses. Or the other part of it, like I can completely understand that maybe the graphics and everything is so bright. Maybe it is catered towards kids. I'm not a kid. I'm the kid and child of my parents, but I'm definitely not like a kid. I would even argue that most people watching a lot of their content is not very much kids. I would maybe Jimmy the most, because he's obviously the most subscribed to YouTuber. JJ, I would not say that most of his content is for kids. I would maybe say the middle ground for Logan because of the WWE side of things, but I would not say that most of Logan's content is geared towards kids. Do I think that their marketing is geared towards kids? Probably, but not entirely. I see a lot of very, maybe not so kid things even being promoted on their Instagram. People that they have, that they share their stories from. It doesn't really speak for kids, right? I can understand if like kids are very much the sole purpose, but it might not be. You can gear towards kids and make like a kids channel, but maybe kids don't watch. You can make a finance channel, but maybe people that don't watch finance watch it, right? I have so many more things to get to, by the way. Excuse me, Nationers. So with that, again, like the Sidemen have made trading cards. They made Sides restaurants. They even have Sides Plus, or Side Plus, that is. Why can't people make these businesses? Why can't people be spokespeople for those businesses? So I'm not entirely in agreement with Dan TDM's sentiments, but I very much disagree with how Lunchly and most of the people that, are gatekeeping the truth behind it have gone about it. Do I think that people are very much wrong and maybe they're biased towards it? I can be like, they're the exact same. They're basically the exact same thing. I can very much understand. Like, I very much liked XQC's response to it. I did not like Asmongold's response to it, but I can very much like and dislike what I like. Not to say that I'm right or wrong, but I disagree and agree with how they go about it and what they do. Do I agree with like Twitch's banning of people and not people? Right. I can very much agree and disagree, but doesn't change with me going on it. If I didn't want to be on it, I wouldn't be on it, right? So people have those choices. People have made decisions that you could follow. Now, as for Lunchly, I think that we leave that to rest. I don't know if I'm going to be talking about like Lunchly unless like something major happens. But talking about different products that have since come out that are basically similar to maybe even their own product. The iPhone 16 just dropped, has been being released. I don't know when the formal release date is, but they've promised that it's coming out. The iPhone 16, the iPhone 16 Pro, and of course the Pro Max. Those are all dropping. Maybe they've dropped, of course, but Apple had a press conference about a month ago talking about like, hey, we're launching it. That's usually what they do in September. They always have a conference. Here's a new iPhone. Now, I understand that throughout some of the evolution of the iPhones that there's been drastic changes. Is there any drastic change, though, with the iPhone 16 to the iPhone 15? I've done the research. I've watched videos talking about it. Anyone that I've seen talked about or gave any thoughts about the iPhone 16 have said no. There is not any difference behind it. But myself, I don't have the phone, so I can't necessarily try it to like go on it. But I did find a website that actually did compare photo to photo, video to video, every spec difference that there is. Now, I'm going to say this bland right away. I don't like the vertical design of the iPhone 16. A lot of people have said the iPhone 16 Pro and Max there's no difference between that and the 16. So it's simply just the 16 version and the 15 version. I don't like the vertical. I like the square camera. Now, they have different means for that, but I don't think it's obsolete at that point for most people. People just want to be able to take a photo. That's about it. Take a photo, take a video. That's literally it. Now, I'm going to get this done right away. The camera, the video, the exact same. On the iPhone 15 base model and the iPhone 16 base model. The exact same. The exact same amount of quality. The video, like, all the exact same. Like, the side-by-sides that I saw, the exact same. Now, some of the differences right away are I'm just going to either say same or slightly different, okay? So, same size, like girth, corner to quarter. The mute switch, which is usually by the volume, has been now changed into an action button. And then they have new camera controls on the side, with the camera control being kind of like almost like where the palm of your thumb would be, which I don't personally like. It makes no sense. They have an A16 upgraded to an A18 chipset, which apparently is just faster. More memory from 6 gigabytes of RAM to 8 gigabytes of RAM, which it's a phone. It's not that much difference. My phone works just fine. It probably maybe be like 4 or 5, maybe 6. It's not that much difference. Now, let me see if I can, there we go. I can hold on to it. Now, doesn't support AI in the 15, supports AI. Is that really much of like anything of use? Apple Intelligence isn't even coming out until next year, but they like needed to do it because Google, Samsung, they've all added their intelligence, their AI intelligence. So Apple feels like their need to like chip in, even if they don't have it ready. Same storage models, 128, 256, and 512, the exact same. The vertical camera is apparently for spatial video, whereas the diagonal camera layout, I personally really like. I think it looks sleeker. Now, they have the exact same main camera. They look the exact same. The 15 has an ultra-wide camera with no macro support, whereas the 16 does have macro support, which I'm not entirely sure what that means. Didn't have any difference between things. Longer life battery from 20 hours, a video playback to 22, which, great, I guess. They go from 20 watts wired charging to the same wired charging. MagSafe is 15 watts to 25 watts, so it's faster to actually put your phone on something than it is to actually plug it in, which, okay, different color scheme. That's about it for the first rendition of it. Now, the dimensions, again, are the exact same. The weight is 1 gram heavier for the 15 than is the 16. The screens are the exact same. Again, the processor goes from a 16 Bionic to an 18, which is their new one. Their RAM is 6 to 8 with the same storage and the same prices. So you're basically paying the same price for 2 extra gigabytes of RAM. Cameras, the exact same. The cameras are just in different spots at that point. The front's the exact same. The battery is 212 mAh, which I'm sure is something with amps. I don't know exactly the abbreviation for that. And then obviously, like I said, the wire charging the same, and then the MagSafe is 10 more watts for the 16. Is that really much of a difference for somebody buying a phone? Like maybe if you were buying from like a 13 and hadn't bought the 15, might as well buy the 16. But if you're on the 15, why would you spend $800 more, at least upwards to $1,000 more to buy the base model 16, which in my opinion is way better than the Pro and Max versions? Why would you do that? There's no point in doing that. I understand if you're like myself with a 10, I'm going to be upgrading to a 13 at some point in my life. I want a 13 Pro Max. Those phones are great. Probably, arguably, the best iPhone ever, in my opinion. Still has iOS 18. The cameras on it are great, and it works just fine. I don't know why, and this is just part of me, I really hate material things. Like, I like looking nice when it comes to, certain occasions. I like feeling nice, especially in my clothes. But why is it when it comes to like tech that it's such a trendy thing to have like the new and latest and best thing, right? Like, I get if it's like a graphics card and you want to upgrade, but I still have the first gen AirPods. They work just fine. Just got to clean them every once in a while. I got crazy earwax. Just got to clean them every once in a while. So with the iPhone and this whole notion of like having like the best and new and latest, like, cool if you have the money and go do it. But why not just buy something, use it until it doesn't work anymore, and then buy the next newest, latest thing that you could buy? I just don't necessarily like the notion of like, I have to have the newest and trendiest and this brand new thing that just dropped. And thinking about that is like Tesla just dropped their brand new car. They dropped the concept of their RoboCab and their RoboVan and this whole like AI thing that could be inside of your house. Which, if I'm not wrong, so they're the Cybercab, which is basically like a car that you can own that other people can use to basically be a taxi cab. Cool, great. The RoboVan, which is a 20-person van, which I don't think it is in the concept. It only had 14 seats. 14 seats. It was 6 and then 8. Not 20 seats. Maybe it had more. But with that being a cargo, it's a van. Cool, great. But then also their Optimus, which is their person AI that can go in your home for a certain price. Great, it's new, and I'm sure people are going to want it. But is it necessary to have it? Is it a need or is it a want? And I hate that I'm pulling up a Drake line, but wants and needs. Do I want that or do I need that? That is maybe something that we should think about maybe a little bit more. Maybe. I would hope that a notion like that would be something that we think about a little bit more, especially if we're buying fast food. Like, I was thinking about just like ordering pizza for me and my girlfriend tonight, but I was like, no, I can make food. We have the food in the freezer. I just got to put a little bit of work to heat up the chicken, make the rice, and life is good. Anywho, let me go restart the camera real quick. I didn't necessarily want this episode to be as long as it was. I'm going to leave it off with this one thing. YouTube Shorts is now compatible with 3-minute shorts, which I think is a good thing and a bad thing. I think it's a little bit more competitive with other brands like TikTok, like Facebook, like Instagram. Instagram, I think, is 3 minutes. I've seen upwards to like 10. But I will say, YouTube is very behind on a lot of the short form stuff. I think a lot of it is because YouTube is so old. Their API just like doesn't work really well. And just like updating things takes forever, which really, really sucks. Like, I hate it because I was so gassed. Like October, I always say October and August, like interchangeably. So I do apologize if I've said August, but meant October. October 15th, YouTube Shorts would become, how do you say it? There was an update that they would be 3 minutes. 3 minutes long, that was like the day. I was like, okay, great update, cool. Like, you could upload a 3-minute short and they're going to get pushed. The problem with that is that's not really what it was. That was when things were being put into action. That update won't come until early 2025. Why? Why, YouTube? Why would we not have been working that for the past 4 months? So then by October 15th, everything's set in stone. So they released this 4-step phase, kind of like what Marvel has done. And I even commented, I'm like, man, we got Marvel YouTube Shorts Edition before GTA 6. So, and this is like my one gripe with YouTube. Like, I love YouTube for a lot of things. They have some great things. Like, their premium feature is great. But I do not like that every single update is like years beyond the time. Now, they have had a nice little update with the shorts thumbnail. So I don't have to like necessarily change the, like, upload a short from my phone. I can upload it on my PC, and then I could change it from my phone, which is great. Like, I like it enough, but yeah, it was very annoying for a while that you could not change your shorts thumbnail from your PC. And you still can't necessarily, but at least it's a roundabout way here. So phase 1, this is this week, October 15th, giving creators a precise date, that date that I just mentioned, for when any square to vertical videos, 3 minutes or under, uploaded to YouTube would stop being treated as long form and going forward be treated as short. No surprises. Yeah, okay, that's great, but that's not exactly what you gave us. Like, these next 3 phases are what exactly we wanted on that date. Like, just be transparent. Like, hey, October 15th, this is how the phases. Don't be like, hey, we release this, and then like on the 17th or 18th, release like your 4th phase and be like, oh, I'm sorry, here's the blueprint that we had all along. Don't freaking do that to me. Don't do that to any creators. Like, it prolongs like this whole, like, creators actually getting on board. I just don't like it. Phase 2, by the end of next week, so roughly around the 26th, longer shorts will be shown up and get recommended in the shorts feed, which is great. It'll take a little bit longer, maybe several weeks, for the feed algorithm to start balancing shorter and longer shorts recommendations, which is great. That's a little transparency there. So by next weekend, they'll show up on shorts feeds. Great. I've uploaded a 1 minute and 5 second short, and it did all right. Got 15 views. But even then, by launch date, like, things were not showing up on people's shorts feeds. Like, people were normally getting like thousands of views like right away. 400, 200, 150. Myself, I get around like 1,000. I was getting like 2. Oh boy, I was mad. Uploading again, taking them down. It was bad. It was bad. All right, so phase 3 by the end of November. So a month and a half later from the initial update. Longer shorts will move to the short shelf in the subscription feed into the shorts tab on channel pages. And yes, that's for any long short uploaded after the 15th start date, which, if you ask me, great. Why can't we make that immediate? Why can't we be like, yeah, that's great. Put it in the shorts tab. Ay. Like, shorts, this whole shorts thing has been it's taken like 3 years for shorts to be like fully, like, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, my God, handle this thing right away. What is up with YouTube? My God. So this is where the early 2025 comes in. Phase 4, early 2025, shorts creation tools will be updated to support 3-minute shorts. So in addition to uploading them, you'll be able to make them right in the YouTube app as well. Oh, great heavens. Why? Just why? Why is it so necessary? Why are we having to do all of this over the course of at least 2.5 months, at least? Like, early 2025 isn't like January 6th, right? It's like maybe like February 14th, you know? So yeah, that's really, really rough. I just hate this. Some person a really good reply to, I don't remember it, but it was really good and I really aligned with it. It just like, it feels like every YouTube update takes like an eternity. Like, every time that I've uploaded a short, it's been like, you cannot change your shorts thumbnail. Yet. Like, you cannot change your shorts thumbnail on PC yet. How about we just bring that? Like, why can't we just add that in? Why can't we add that in? We're so gung ho about curved thumbnails. That's what we're focused on. Like, makes becoming a creator so much more difficult than it should be. And I very much dislike it. And there's a lot of other things that I had planned. Probably not going to discuss them. Rest in peace, Liam Payne. I was going to talk about a little bit of that. I get very, I have an existential crisis when I think about death. I don't like it. But rest in peace, Liam Payne. Just a very tragic death that occurred over this last week. In good news, though, we caught a thruster for the first time. SpaceX had a great event, which, again, I love space, but every time I think about space, I have an existential crisis. So, yeah, Nation, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys again so much for watching episode 65. Banner is right behind me of The Realest Podcast, baby. Let me know if you guys like the stand. I think it looks really cool. Let me know if you guys like it as well, Nationers. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. 07 and peace. Peace.